Good evening, this is Brastax. I'm Zaka Jacob. The entire controversy around the Kashmir Files film, which was once again stoked recently by Israeli filmmaker Nadav Lapid. He was the chair of the IFI jury. He called it vulgar propaganda. That led to a huge backlash, not just from the filmmakers and the cast and crew of the film, but also from ordinary Indians. Mr. Lapid today has doubled down on his criticism, but he's making a distinction. He's saying criticizing a film is one thing, but he is not denying the reality of what happened to Kashmiri Pandits. Is that a convenient distinction to make? Should Nadav Lapid apologize, not just to the Kashmiri Pandits and the hell that they went through 30 years ago, but also to the film and its makers? In fact, in just 2 minutes, I will be speaking to Nadav Lapid, the man in the hot seat, the man at the center of this storm around the Kashmir Files, and I'll be asking him exactly that. But first, the story.
There were massive protests in Jammu today against Israeli filmmaker and IFFI jury member Nadav Lapid. The flashpoint was Lapid calling Kashmir Files a vulgar propaganda film. There's growing anger over Lapid seemingly dismissing the plight of Kashmiri Pandits in the valley.
दुख मुझे उन लोगों से है कि जो हमारे इंडिया में इस चीज को डिनाई करते हैं, उन्हें स्टेज देते हैं.
उन्होंने फिर से कश्मीरी पंडित के जख्मों के ऊपर नमक छिड़का है.
Lapid had publicly criticized Kashmir Files at the closing ceremony of the International Film Festival of India in Goa.
All of us disturbed and shocked by the 15th film, by the movie Kashmir Files, that felt to us like a propaganda vulgar movie, inappropriate for an artistic competitive section of such a prestigious film festival.
Despite Israeli diplomats shunning his remark and the cast and crew of Kashmir Files challenging Lapid to prove them wrong, the filmmaker is doubling down. Speaking to an Israeli news website, Lapid said, and I quote, "It basically justifies Indian policy in Kashmir and has fascist features. Transparent combination between propaganda and fascism and vulgarity. I knew that this was an event that is terribly connected. Everyone praises the government. In countries where people are increasingly losing the ability to speak your mind, someone needs to speak. When I saw this film, I couldn't help but imagine its Israeli equivalent doesn't exist, but could definitely exist."
उसका सिलेक्शन एज चेयरमैन ऑफ जूरी कैसे हुआ? तो इसकी तहकीकात होनी चाहिए, इसके अगेंस्ट एक इन्वेस्टिगेशन होना चाहिए.
The International Film Festival of India jury board has called Lapid's criticism of Kashmir Files his personal opinion.
If you misuse that platform for your own agenda, then you are yourself a vulgar.
The Kashmir Files is based on the exodus and killing of Kashmiri Pandits in the valley in the 1990s. But by claiming that the film adheres to the government line on Kashmir, is there a bigger conspiracy behind Nadav Lapid's words?
Thank you very much, Mr. Lapid, for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. First things first, at the closing ceremony of IFI, and the speech of yours has gone viral, you called the Kashmir Files vulgar propaganda. Why did you describe the movie as such? I mean, you could have used any number of words to describe its filmmaking, its craft, its acting, its cinematography, whatever you may have chosen to speak about it. But why did you call it vulgar propaganda?
Hi. You know, the distinction between propaganda film and normal film, artistic film, of course, they are not clear. They are not formal. They are not evident. I mean, one cannot. There's not a clear distinction between them. It's not like the films are coming with labels. In both, as you said, there is cinematic craft, etc., etc. And I'm totally aware of the fact that in the place where I saw a propaganda film, many other people can see a wonderful, excellent film. But since I was called to Goa in order to serve as the president of the jury, as I did in dozens of other festivals, in the biggest ones, Cannes, Berlin, and in others, my duty, my obligation was to tell the truth as I see it.
Mr. Lapid, was this an opinion that was shared by other members of the jury? Because after your comments and after your speech, they put out a statement saying none of the other jury members agreed with what you said and that it was your personal opinion.
It wasn't at all a personal opinion. It was when the screening of the movie ended, we looked one at the other and we all felt that politics there. It's evident, but I have an enormous and full. Before answering, just to clarify, I mean that I will repeat 10,000 times the fact that I wasn't talking about Kashmir. I wasn't talking about the political issue. I wasn't talking about the historical question. I wasn't at any moment doubting, disrespecting the tragedy that happened in Kashmir.
Okay.
I talked about the movie, and such a serious topics deserve, in my opinion, a serious movie, and not a series of cinematic cheap manipulations.
Okay, now answer the question I asked you, please.
First of all, I think that the Israeli ambassador repeated exactly the same maneuver. Although he was absolutely aware of the fact that I was talking about the movie as a propaganda movie, he blamed me of talking with disrespect about the tragedy of Kashmir. That cinematically, it's a populist movie that takes extremely serious, tragic, and complex event to of course, to insult no one. My aim of no one on this case.
All right, Nadav Lapid, thank you very much for speaking with us. All right, now let's open this up to our guests who are joining us. So Nadav Lapid, they're making a distinction, saying that his comments at the IFFI closing ceremony were restricted to the movie and nothing but the movie, and that he is in no way trying to insult what happened to Kashmiri Hindus or trying to deny what happened to Kashmiri Pandits 30 years ago. He feels their pain and he says he's willing to apologize because his comments have been misinterpreted. But as far as the movie is concerned, he says, according to him, it is a propaganda movie. Let me now go across to our guests who are joining us. Shaina NC, BJP spokesperson, Ashok Pandit, filmmaker, Liv Aaron is a journalist joining us live from Jerusalem, Ravi Rai, film director, and Nasir Abdullah, actor, joining us. Ashok Pandit, let me start with you first because you led a protest in Jammu today. There were a lot of Kashmiri Pandits who got offended by what Nadav Lapid said at the IFFI closing ceremony. I hope you heard what he said in the interview a while ago to me. He's drawing the distinction. He's saying clearly that his criticism was about the movie and not about what happened to Kashmiri Pandits like you yourself and your family 30 years ago. He feels your pain. He's not denying the pain, but his criticism was for the movie.
Zaka, I wish that you would have made me question this white-collar terrorist, not a filmmaker, to respond to his lies and respond to his insult, his humiliation, and his abuses to a Kashmiri Pandit. He says that he didn't say anything about Kashmiri Pandits. He's with the tragedy. But he's saying that this film is vulgar and is a propaganda. Now this man, this white-collar terrorist, I would like to tell him that as a victim of the terrorism, as a victim of genocide of Kashmiri Pandits, Kashmir Files spoke what happened to Kashmiri Pandits. Kashmir Files is not on Palestine or on Israel. Kashmir Files narrated a story, what exactly happened to me and my community. Just 25% of exactly what happened to me and my community. We have suffered the worst genocide than shown in the film. You say that this film is vulgar. You have insulted a Kashmiri Pandit. You say that this film is vulgar. This film is a propaganda. You have insulted me. You have humiliated me. And you made a mockery of my genocide. This man has been planted there by the left liberals, by all those forces who are there out to break this country. There's a proper strategy which was planned as these people normally do.
Okay.
This platform was used to make India uncomfortable. And the reason why he was called here without any homework is quite shameful. This man cannot get away with saying what nonsense He has
Okay,
said,
so let me
he
ask
has
China
humiliated
NC,
me.
that
He
that
has
is
to
a concern
apologize, and
for
strict action should be taken
Ashok
against
Pandit
him.
and many people who've been incensed by these comments as to
Right.
why was this gentleman invited, why was he made the jury chair of IFI in the international section, because his views, including on the Holocaust, are pretty well known. Who made that decision to invite him? And surely some heads should roll for that.
No, I think Zaka,
Yeah,
the fact that
absolutely.
he was invited to IFI is only one part of this debate. Let's understand that there were 4 other jury members who chose not to speak. They chose, if at all, the comment should have been on the technical aspects, if they had some expertise to give, not to sit on a political comment where you have the ambassador of Israel also apologizing. And let's read the quote of the Israeli ambassador where he says it is insensitive and presumptuous to speak about historic events before deeply studying them, and which are open wound for India because many involved still around are paying a price. So you have the ambassador of Israel apologizing on behalf of Lapid. And I'm glad that on your show he has apologized. I don't think it's a direct apology, but the apology must be made known to the international world community, because you can't have an Israeli filmmaker come to India, have no knowledge of what the Kashmiri Pandits went through. And this film highlights what happens in the 90s in terms of an exodus and the kind of terror that one saw from Pakistan and all these terror outfits that tried to destabilize us and our country. This is an eye-opener. You don't say that the Holocaust is something you absolve the culprits for. You don't come and say this is a propaganda, because you have no right to speak. You're not coming here as a political commentator.
Okay, so let me ask Nasser Abdullah.
Make 2 points. I just
know,
want to make 2 small points.
all
Just
right, quickly.
2 small points.
Quickly.
One is that Mr. Lapid has made an apology, but it should be an unconditional apology because he's not a political commentator. And number 2, as a country, the opposition and the ruling party, everyone must stand united, because this is about India's image and what happened to our Kashmiri Pandits.
Okay.
So it's not
So
a
let me
figment of
ask
someone's
Nasser Abdullah
imagination.
that his apology was not an unconditional one, as Shaina said. It was a very conditional one. He says he apologizes to those Kashmiri Pandits who may have misconstrued his words, but he's certainly not apologizing to the filmmaker. So should his apology be unconditional? Secondly, the question that was also asked by Ashok Pandit and others is, if you are not part of this country and if you don't know the history of this country, if you don't know what happened to Kashmiri Pandits, why are you commenting on a movie that's been made about Kashmiri Pandit genocide? And most importantly, that movie was not the one of the 4 that was awarded.
Right.
That movie was, not even in contention for being awarded. So why bring up a movie that was not even in contention? What was the need for Nadav Lapid to make that statement at the closing ceremony?
Okay. So there are 2 thoughts in my mind right now. One is that I'll be interrupted by you soon. And the other is that Ashok Pandit, invariably, he gets very angry with me. So if you could restrain yourself, I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much. So here's the deal. I worked on a film called Gandhi in 1981 when Zaka, you were about 3 or 4 years old or whatever. When the film was made and the journalists happened to watch it, the expert, they said, oh, complete distortion of facts. They didn't put this, they didn't put that. They couldn't put everything anyway. And here is the result. It got 8, it won 8 Academy Awards, okay? So this is how it works. People can dislike a film, that's fine, but ultimately the result was whatever. Now, here...
No, Nasser,
So
hang on, one second. People can dislike the film. Nobody has a problem with people disliking a film.
Right.
But
See,
that's not what Nadav Lapid said.
I know.
He didn't say I don't like the movie.
I know.
He said it's vulgar propaganda.
Yes. Hang on. Yes. So, hang on. Now you're interrupting me. You see, because I don't belong to the ruling party, I don't get a small piece of cake. Please let me, I was coming to that. You're wasting your time and the channel. So here it is.
Nasser, on this panel, only Shaina belongs to the ruling party. None of us belong to the ruling party. Go on. I'm listening to you. Go on.
If you stop,
Go
man,
on,
I'll
sir.
go on. Here
Go
I-
on. I'm
yes,
listening
sir,
to you.
sir. Yes, I know you're listening. So here is the deal. He made a statement about how he felt about the film. It was extremely violent, extremely whatever bloody. And because of that, I know a lot of people who didn't want to see the film because they had heard it was extremely violent. He did not make a political statement. He felt that the film was a misfit. It should not have been in the festival because it seemed to be, in his opinion, a propaganda film.
Nasser,
And
Nasser, no,
that's
no, Nasser,
okay.
Nasser,
Was
can
he-
I, since you brought,
Was he
since you
here
brought,
as a political
no, since you
commentator
brought,
or as a
since you
film
brought
as a
Gandhi,
film
Gandhi into
the
the equation, right?
technical
And you
aspects.
said you've
Yeah.
worked on Gandhi. If at the end of Gandhi, you know, the first time people were watching it, people could have come out and said, you know, good movie, bad movie, I like the movie, I didn't like the movie. But if they came out and said, this is a propaganda movie, how would you have felt as someone who
don't-
worked in that movie?
I don't give a hang. I don't give a hang. Please don't throw me around all over the place. Here is the deal. The Bandit Queen, which had so much violence, they showed the Bandit Queen being raped by 12 men over a long period of the time. You know what happened to me when I walked out in 1993, 94? I was ashamed of myself as a man. I was so shaken up, I could not raise my eyes because I've got two sisters, right? So when I saw this horrendous thing, and it won Shekhar Kapoor accolades,
Zaka,
it
allow
had
me a rebuttal.
lots of violence, but it was not about the politics. Now, people are overreacting on this. He made a statement because he sees it in a certain way. And it's okay. It doesn't mean the end of the world.
Okay,
No,
Shaina
no,
will
no,
respond,
please,
and then
please.
I'll
But
get
no,
Liv
yeah,
Aaron
yeah,
and
but-
Ravi
but-
Rai are
but-
also waiting patiently.
It is
So
not-
Shaina,
yeah,
very quick
I know.
rebuttal, please. Yeah.
No, it
This
is not
is not about-
It is not a
1 minute. Can I
conspiracy.
just come
It is
in
not
now,
a conspiracy.
Okay, I heard you, Nasser. Heard you.
Can I
Yeah.
come
Saying it's
in
an
now?
act-
Shaina,
No.
only Shaina, please. Yeah.
Zaka, this is not about liking or disliking a film. This is not about the technical aspects of the film. He is trying to suggest that this was a one-sided propaganda when this film was doing just the opposite. Who is he to make a political comment? Does he know about the history of the Kashmiri Pandits? Does he know about the kind of terror activities that took place in the 90s? Does he know about the Exodus? It's like commenting on Schindler's List. Does anyone do that? Because you know that the Holocaust did happen. So
Okay.
please, if you're going to sit here and
So-
make these great political judgments and expect the Indian public or the Indian political fraternity not to stand up, I just appeal to you that even the Israeli ambassador speaking up is a slap on Lapid's face.
No, so I asked
please,
Lapid
let's
that, and I
all
want to ask
stand
Liv Aaron.
united
I
when
want
it
to ask
comes
Liv
to our
Aaron,
country
Israeli
and our
journalist who's
history.
joining us from
Everybody in
Delhi.
the
Rather than
jury
just-
agreed.
Once again, only Liv
Everybody in
Aaron
the
on
jury
screen,
agreed
please.
that
Liv
Nobody
Aaron,
spoke,
we've
Nasir.
had, in response to Nadav Lapid's comments, we've had the Israeli ambassador, the consul general has reacted. I think former ambassadors, at least a couple of them I saw on Twitter, reacting to it, saying we completely disassociate with what he has said and so on and so forth. I want to understand from you, what is the prevailing opinion of this controversy in Israel? Is Nadav Lapid's view something that's shared by all Israelis, or is it that all of these eminent Israelis, from the ambassador to the consul general to former ambassadors, came down on Nadav Lapid because they don't subscribe to his views, and certainly the people of Israel don't subscribe to his views?
First of all, thank you for inviting me. Secondly, I think hypocritic apology is better than no apology. So I heard some kind of apology from Nadav Lapid.
Mm-hmm.
It is not the suitable apology, but it is better than nothing.
Okay.
Now the next thing is that since we hear the English news and also the Hebrew news, we know it is all about politics. When he was speaking to the Indian audience, it was about cinematic text. But when he was speaking to the Hebrew newspapers, he was speaking about politics in Israel and India. So I don't know how he can deny that everything he said was about politics. And I think mostly people in Israel who follow this do not support Nadav Lapid, but support our ambassador.
What did he say to the Hebrew press, which he has not said to the English press or at IFI?
Yes. In the Hebrew press, he said how worried he's about the right-wing policies in both Israel and India. And in Israel, he said that it looked like a neo-Nazi propaganda, what he saw in the Kashmir Files. In the Israeli press, he said nothing about the fact that he has any sympathy to the victims of the Kashmiri exodus.
Mm-hmm.
All these things he says in English for the Indian audience. I can understand him, but I don't think this is really about cinematic text. I think it is about politics. This film is a right-wing film. He doesn't like this film. He had no reason to use his privilege as the chairman of the Goa Film Festival, Indian Film Festival, when he knew that the team of the Kashmir Files, they are voiceless. They are sitting in the audience. They cannot really reply to him. The point is that it was not a panel that I express my views and then you reply to me and then we are like equals.
Correct.
It is a situation when a person has the privilege to say something when he knows that you are voiceless. And I think also for this, he needs to apologize.
Okay, so I think you've hit the nail on the head. And this is why, Ravi Rai, there are still suspicions about Nadav Lapid, because he's saying one thing to the Hebrew press, as Liv Aaron just said, and he's saying one thing to the English press. To the interview that he gave me a short while ago, he apologized to the victims of the genocide if they have misconstrued what he said. And he said he restricted his criticism or his comments just to the film. But clearly to the Hebrew press, and that's the giveaway here, he has been saying stuff about how this is a right-wing film and how he's worried about a right-wing government here in India and the turn of events here in India. So this is political and this is also personal. This is no longer just about a dispassionate look at a film.
You see, Zaka, the very, very first thing when you say his apology was not an apology in any case. I mean, it came with an attachment and a tag, which he ended with, yet he believes it's a vulgar propaganda. I mean, he calls the ethnic cleansing of Hindu Kashmiri Pandits in Hindustan. I repeat, Hindu Kashmiri Pandit, 6 to 7 lakhs, ethnic cleansing in Hindustan. A propaganda? I don't think it's a propaganda. And Zaka, this comes from a man who himself has been a victim to Holocaust. I mean, his grandfather fled to Europe during the Holocaust, and he certainly knows there are 16 to 18 countries. If you deny a Holocaust, you'll be behind bars. I mean, in Austria, you'll be put to 10 years in prison. I mean, this man, and I'll tell you something, his knowledge about Hindu Kashmiri Pandits and the Exodus is as meager as Mia Khalifa and Rihanna's knowledge about the farmers in India and Malala Yousafzai's awareness of the Yazidi women under the Islamic or the Uyghurs in China or the prostitutions in Bangladesh. So his knowledge is just that. But my point there is, Zaka, every morning as an Indian, we wake up to some immeasurable hurts every day. I mean, there is Richa Chadda's tweet, there is Nadav, and let me tell you one thing. It is not Nadav. I mean, this is a pre-planned statement. If this man thinks that Kashmir Files is a film which is not fit to be in the creative section or in the competitive, what about Schindler's List? What about Casualties of War? What about Amistad?
This is a toolkit agenda.
Born on the 4th of July. I mean, those films were there in the competition and they did win. I mean, how can he deny Schindler's List?
Ashok Pandit, as a filmmaker, do you second what Ravi Rai is saying, that, you know, as a jury, you are given a selection of films, I think 15 or 20 films. One second, Ravi Rai, one second. No, what I want to know is, Ashok Pandit, you are given a selection of 15 or 20 films. You have to watch those films once, twice, maybe 3 times. And then you have to come to a conclusion as to 2 or 3 or 4 best films, and you give them the Silver Peacock and the Golden Peacock and so on and so forth. As a jury member, do you comment on the films that did not make the cut? Or do you comment on films that have won the award? Or because of the limited number of awards, there was this exceptional film, we could not award it, but the jury wants to make a special mention of this film. Why would you want to talk about a film that you thought was badly made, even if it was part of the panel?
Zaka, if you remember what I started with, I'm telling you again, this man was planted there. Again, courtesy of our own government, our own director of film festivals, they made a wrong choice. This man used this platform to his best. You saw what other jury members said, Sudipto, yesterday, that he was not supposed to talk about it. So he was planted there. He was ready to do this. He was prepared to expose or to ridicule or to humiliate India. By issuing this statement, he supported terrorism because Kashmir Files is against terrorism. So he is ridiculed Kashmir Files. He supported terrorism by ridiculing Kashmir Files. He has shot many bullets with one bullet. He has killed many people by just one bullet. He has done his job and he's gone away. And we are asking his apology. For me, more than him, I think the director of film festivals should apologize immediately because they are responsible for this fiasco. Without any homework, we have called a wrong person. And let me tell you, Zaka, entire Goa Film Festival was full of left liberals, communists who were there moving around in different programs. So there has to be a thinking within us. There has to be a serious thinking within us. Who are the people? If they are India beaters, they have regularly hit at India. They are enemies within. There has to be a proper thinking going behind choosing the people who are the people who are going to be on the platform. Nowhere in the world this is allowed. Nowhere in the world. I am hurt today. I am insulted today. I am humiliated today. Not just because this man humiliated me. I am humiliated today because my own country has deceived me by making a wrong person the jury of the chair.
Nasser Abdullah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can I just say something without your asking me a question? I can't, for the life of me, imagine that there was some sort of leftist, like a conspiracy or a toolkit or a bullkit, whatever. I regret, I'm ashamed of what happened in Kashmir. Absolutely. And I'm for it that they be reinstated, etc., etc. But here is a man who felt very strongly somewhere that this was a little over the top. It was, and he was obviously very, very much into human rights, whatever it was, but he had the right to make an observation, and the jury members had agreed with him, but they chose to be silent. Say, no, don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me.
But Nasser, the rest of the jury did not have that view. The rest of the jury did not have that view.
They did. He said they did.
No. The other jury members put out a formal statement saying that was not their view.
I heard him interviewing him. They were a bit disturbed about the whole thing, but they chose not to talk about it.
The film speaks the truth.
Did. So it was a misfit. It's a great film. It's about the truth. I'm not saying the truth. I'm not saying it is about it is true.
Because of talking.
The film is true. Mr. Pandit, shut up for a minute. I know it is the truth. I know it is the truth. Mr. Pandit,
don't talk out of your hands. And don't humiliate me.
Take some honey. I'm not humiliating you.
You're talking about time.
It is the truth. I know the film is about the truth. I know the film is about the truth. I'm not denying that.
Yeah, then,
he just felt that.
Then what over the top? What are you saying over the top? What is over the top?
Why should I?
What is over the top and under the top? Truth is
too much blood, too much whatever. He thinks.
That is
I don't
happened.
agree with him. He
that
thinks
is what has happened.
To an opinion.
That is what has happened.
You want to hang him? You want to hang him?
That is what has happened.
Don't overreact. He's entitled to his opinion.
Mr. Abdullah,
it's okay. He's gone.
Mr. Abdullah, I am a filmmaker. Any filmmaker has a right to make the film the way he wants to make. Who are you to guide him? Who are you to guide him?
I'm not guiding him. He has a right to have an opinion. Is he allowed to have an opinion? Is he allowed to have an opinion?
The masses.
He saw something which I didn't see. He saw it. He said it.
No, but you can't speak lies.
I'm not saying the film.
You can't humiliate.
Okay.
You can't humiliate.
You are overreacting.
My genocide.
You are overreacting.
You cannot humiliate my genocide.
He made a personal statement.
My ethnic cleansing.
Now, go on. I am not saying that.
You cannot
I'm saying
humiliate
he
my
had an
genocide,
opinion.
Mr.
Full
Abdullah.
stop.
Our
Full
women
stop.
were raped.
Go.
Our houses were
yeah.
burnt. We were killed.
We'll
We have
have a
suffered the
discussion
exodus.
about that. Yes, I
Can't
know.
I say that?
It's terrible. It's
Can't I
terrible.
narrate my story?
I regret it.
Can't I
I'm not
narrate my
narrating.
story?
Don't tell
Can't
me.
I narrate
I'm not
my story?
defending
You tell
them.
me that.
I'm not defending them. You'll have a
Can't I
bad throat.
narrate
Take
my
it
story?
easy. Take it easy. Don't
Am I
shout.
right?
Don't shout.
Don't I have a
shout.
right
Shantada.
to narrate my story?
Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. Om
Don't
shanti
I have the right
Take it easy.
to narrate my
Take
story,
it. I know,
Mr.
but
Abdullah?
don't shout so much. You always shout at me. You've been shouting for the past 10 years. I don't know why you hate me. I don't understand. I haven't done anything to you.
Because you're insensitive.
Yes.
Because
so
you're
it's okay.
insensitive.
So
You're very
I'll be
insensitive.
So
You're
I'll be dying soon,
insensitive
so don't
to my
worry.
cause.
Don't worry. You will be rid of me.
Don't
I'll
be
be dying soon.
insensitive.
Bye-bye. Tata.
Okay, one
Don't
second.
be
One second.
insensitive and don't give
Let me just pull back.
Okay,
Let me just
stop
pull back.
it, man.
No,
Stop
one
it.
second. Let me just pull back.
Stop
Over the
it.
top,
One second.
under the top.
Mr.
Ashokji,
Pandit
and
is going
Mr.
on and
Abdullah.
on.
That is what has happened.
Let me go to two other guests.
That is what has happened, Mr.
Go to the
Abdullah.
other
One
guest.
second. Let me go back to
Don't
Ravi
give
Rai.
them
Ravi Rai, the question that is being asked again and again is twofold. I asked him this question. You were the only one of the jury who had this view. The others clearly distanced themselves from this view, in fact, put out a formal statement. Sudipto Sen came on television and denied that this was the view of the jury. So, why are you lumping this as the view of the jury? He said, this is what all of us felt at the end of the screening of the movie. I was the only one who was asked to go up and speak, and I spoke my mind. Do you buy that?
I'll tell you something. It's not the Kashmir Files that's a vulgar propaganda. It's Nadav Lapid who's the vulgar propaganda. You know? I mean, if you look at the whole scenario, the vulgar propaganda by Nadav Lapid is what the essence is. And it comes from a man. I mean, Israel is still fighting Palestine. I mean, is this man, can't he see that? They're still fighting Palestine. So is it not reality? Is it a false or a vulgar propaganda? And we, Zaka, we in India, I mean, we celebrate a film like Mughal-e-Azam about an emperor who did nothing. He was the worst in the lineage of emperors. But when it comes to a Bhagat Singh Chandrasekhar or the well-documented genocide of 7 lakh Kashmiri Pandits called the Kashmir Files, which is reality, which is truth, you call it a vulgar propaganda? At the age of, I've known Ashok Pandit since last 40 years, and I remember what he has gone through. But those were the days we did not even, like all the Indians, we did not even feel what he was going through. But today, I go through a lot of remorse. I burn within myself. Why was I quiet?
I'm coming to you, Shaina. I'm coming to you.
When 7 lakh Kashmiri Pandits were being thrown out, raped, they were hacked, they were raped. I mean, you know the whole documentation about it. And this man calls it a vulgar propaganda?
Okay.
But let me tell you one thing, Zaka.
Quickly, yeah.
These things, if you look at it, there is something called Bharat Jodo. So this is Bharat Jodo.
Okay.
The Richard Chadda tweet and Nadav Lapid.
Shaina, respond again. The point that Ashok
Zaka,
Pandit also made a while ago.
Zaka, one sec.
You know,
Zaka, one sec.
Okay,
Zaka,
fine.
one sec. Zaka.
Yeah.
Zaka, one sec. Zaka, anybody who's denying my genocide and is calling Kashmir Files vulgar or propaganda, I request them to see my documentary which I uploaded yesterday called Kashmiri Pandits Ka Narsamhar. The real images shot in 1990s is there in that documentary, and please see to it that this white-collar terrorist watches this film, Nasir Abdullah watches this film, and then talk about Kashmir Files and see what Kashmir Files is all about.
Okay, Shaina.
He's not denying the genocide.
Shaina, final word. I've got to wrap up after that. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that obviously Mr. Lapid has done a complete U-turn because he started by saying there was no exodus, there was no genocide, and this film is vulgar and a propaganda. So obviously, Zaka, there is a larger conspiracy behind this, which is a propaganda to defame India on the international platform, which is something India will not allow. The apology today is only a half apology. Having said that, the Israeli ambassador, the consul general, all of them who have said that, he can't vent his frustration on this forum. And as a juror, what was he asked to comment on? He was asked to comment whether he liked the film, did not like the technical aspects, the aesthetic aspects. He chose to make it about his political comment on India and what happened to the Kashmiri Pandits. Now, this is a figment of his imagination to somebody who doesn't know the ABC of India's history and what the Kashmiri Pandits have suffered. And the kind of terrorism that one saw in the 90s is obviously not going to be a comment made by Mr. Lapid or anybody who chooses to defame India, but by the actual facts. So my limited point is that this half apology is one step better than no apology at all, but he has a long way to clear his stance. I'm glad that the ambassador has written an open letter to him and asked him that what it is that prompted him to speak in such an obnoxious tone on India and India's history.
We've got to leave it at that. China, thank you very much. I'm completely out of time. Ashok Pandit, thank you very much. Liv Aaron, also thank you so much. Ravi Rai and Nasir Abdullah. Like Liv Aaron said, yes, there was an apology, but a half-baked one, if you will. Certainly not an entirely sincere one, and certainly not an unconditional one to not just the people who suffered back at that time, but also people who felt offended by his comments, including, of course, the film and its makers. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, actor Vijay Deverakonda, superstar in the South, has been questioned by the Enforcement Directorate for 9 straight hours. Find out why in just a few minutes.